Hi, everyone, and welcome to Vikings Now. And now, are these Vikings good? 48-10, they dismantle the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Brian Flores' defense and Carson Wentz. Jim Rich, along with Ahmad, Hicks, Pierre, Noujaim. As always, love reading your comments, and this is live on YouTube. You can catch us right after the games, or you can always watch it anytime you want on Fox Local and the Fox YouTube channel, Fox 9 YouTube channel. All right, where do you want to start? Do we want to start with Mr. Rodgers?
You got to start with the guy.
This is the best free agent acquisition named Rodgers the Vikings could have gotten this summer.
He had it. You start.
Yeah, I mean, how do you argue with NFL history that was made on a day like today? I mean, absolutely sensational. 2 forced fumbles, an interception return for a touchdown, and one of those fumbles that he created was returned for a touchdown. NFL history on a day like today for Isaiah Rodgers, and certainly was a huge part in Minnesota slowing down this Bengals offense, who, of course, were without Joe Burrow, but we thought Jake Browning was going to be showing a little bit better than what we saw here today. But Brian Flores and that defense led by Isaiah Rodgers just absolutely putting a lid on the entire Cincinnati offense here today. You had to expect this type of response from the defense, because defensively, especially the guys up front, when you get ran on the way you got ran on last week by Bijan Robinson, those guys take that personally.
They did.
Defenses do not like to get ran on the way Minnesota got ran on last Sunday night. What did they do against Cincinnati? Held them in check. Chase Brown, a complete non-factor here today. Everybody on the Cincinnati offense, really a complete non-factor here today. A stellar performance by this group.
You know, it's funny because Josh Metella said it after the game last week. He was like, look, that run game, he's like, that can't happen again. He's like, that's where we start defensively shutting down the run. He's like, that's not going to happen again. So you like to see that he talked that talk and they went out there and walked that walk today. It was a phenomenal game plan, I think, by Brian Flores, keeping Jake Browning on his toes, confused all day long. He didn't know what was coming at him the entire game, it looked like. And when he did, get the ball out and do something, the Vikings were so active in, getting turnovers and punching the ball out and whatnot. So it's a complete team effort. And I just love how, a lot of people forgot about the offensive woes, because they didn't just go away with Carson Wentz. There was still some offensive woes in that first half, but it was the defense carrying them. So I think it just showed that, hey, the defense is good. We've seen them for 2 weeks being a little battle-tested. And
they were good last week. Even though they got run on, they bent, but they did not break.
Exactly.
And that was critical to at least make it a game as long as it was.
Sure.
It was.
No doubt about it. I mean, I just one thing I want to point out with the Vikings today too, and this has been for as great as the result was today for the Vikings, we have noticed a troubling trend with this team through the first 3 games. There have been a combined 29 accepted penalties in 3 games by the Minnesota Vikings. That is a problem, and that is something that's going to need to really get reined in as the season moves along. That's just 8 penalties, and what was it, 13 today? 8, 8, and 13. Yeah, that's something that Kevin O'Connell
and a lot of them
afterwards.
are procedural, right? And this is because
you got your
September is now the NFL preseason.
Yeah,
no one knows what anybody's really going to be like, because no one plays during the preseason. You don't get the timing down. Vikings with 3 new pieces on that offensive line trying to figure things out on the fly. And this is what you get, sloppiness. I mean, nobody knows how good the Bears are, how bad the Bears are. Nobody knows how good the Packers are or how bad they are. Same with the Lions. You don't really know yet, because no one puts in that game day action in the preseason anymore.
Yeah, a couple of teams play their starters in the preseason, but certainly not a lot. And I mean, I talked to one of my buddies about this who plays in the NFL, and I was like, I feel like we all know if you're a football player, defenses always have the upper hand when training camp starts off, because their defense is already installed. It's really like just see ball, go get ball, whereas the offense, you got to do all these things. And I asked my buddy, I'm like, offenses always start out slow. Why is that the case? And he was like, that's not always the case. He was like, some offenses are better than others. But I think when you look at the Vikings struggles and things like that, you talk about no Darisaw. You talk about J.J. McCarthy, his first year, going out there playing actually. Then Carson Wentz, who hasn't been on the team for more than a month, going out there and trying to run ship. And then you got Justin Skule, Ryan Kelly. You got all these moving pieces that literally isn't their offense. And so I think maybe when you get Darisaw, that offensive line out there consistently, you get J.J. McCarthy and Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, I think maybe that's when we'll see those penalties start to decline. But like Pierre said, still a problem right now.
And you've had 2 different quarterbacks in 3 weeks.
Right.
Make sure you talk right into that bad boy there, giving me a text, because everybody wants to hear you.
Do I not project enough? You got to be kidding me. I need to talk more in the microphone? You got to be out of your freaking mind.
These mics only pick up when you're right on them. It's crazy sometimes.
You got to be kidding me.
So here's where I think the game, the tone for the afternoon was set. Not Rodgers and his pick six, but I think that opening drive where it was on Wentz, this whole crowd is on pins and needles, waiting to see what's going to happen. How is Carson going to be? How is this offense going to be after being atrocious last week and porous, the offensive line? Well, Cincinnati helped them out. You talked about penalties.
Yeah.
They helped them out with a huge number of flags on that opening drive.
3 penalties on the first 2 plays.
Right. So that took the edge off, I think, for Wentz and everybody. They're like, okay, we're in field goal range already without doing anything. And then to convert and get that 7, I think there was just a collective sigh on that Vikings sideline. Like, okay, all right, we think we know what we have here. Yeah. And I think that just gave him some breathing room, and then Rodgers just took the lid off everything.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And before I address that, I need to talk about what kind of terrible microphone we have that doesn't pick up my voice from this distance out. You've got to be kidding me, but I digress. Get our money back for that, for God's sake.
These are great microphones.
Yeah, they're great microphones.
You can't pick up my mic. I'm the one that's talking to the mic. You got to be kidding me. You can hear me all the way from Green
All
Bay.
right, next time I won't point that out. I'm sorry that really
No,
is
not you. That's not your fault. That's the manufacturer's fault. I'm shouting you out right now.
Sure.
Here's the deal with the offense. It's no coincidence to me that when Christian Darrisaw returns back to the lineup, that Minnesota has its best rushing outing of the season thus far in terms of total yards and yards per carry. No Aaron Jones today. He's going to be out for the next few weeks. Jordan Mason now with the opportunity to take this job by the horns and really run away with it. Sorry for the pun. But over 7 yards a carry today for Jordan Mason. Absolutely outstanding. And again, remember, no Ryan Kelly on the afternoon. We still have not had a single game from left to right with the entire starting line for the Minnesota Vikings. Once they get the starting 5 healthy and back, I think it's only going to get better from here. Now, in terms of what Carson Wentz had to do, I mean, let's be honest, he didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot for this game, given how the defense played in terms of returning 2 scores for a touchdown.
Right.
But he managed the game very well, I thought. He was sacked 3 times, but I thought one of those was his fault. I thought he held onto the ball a little too long. It'll be about coverage sack. But I thought he got really good time in the pocket on numerous plays, had time to throw, delivered the throws. He missed Jalen Nailor for a touchdown, threw behind him. Should have been a touchdown on that pass to Jalen Nailor. But for the most part, this is exactly what you want. Ahmad and I talked about it last week. You're here to keep the ship afloat. And he did exactly that today.
I agree with Pierre. I mean, look, I won't say look, it was good to see the Vikings score a touchdown in quarters 1 through 3 because they had not done that this season on that opening drive. But look, I really think it was just more about everyone executing the penalties that they had and them being in short yardage situations because it was just all right, hit the man that's open. And, Justin Jefferson on a dig route. And then, Jordan Oliver just on a little hookup hitch route, him turning it up and going to go score. So, was I wowed by Carson Wentz? Absolutely not. But was I what? He did his job? Absolutely.
But we don't know if he can wow you because he didn't have to today.
Yeah.
Because the game got out of hand, and then it was all right, we're just going to hang on to the football as much as possible.
I doubt you'll get 4 takeaways versus the Steelers in the first half, so we'll have to see what Carson Wentz is capable of when the team travels over to Dublin.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
It's Aaron Rodgers. He's been known to give the ball away a few times.
But I doubt he
and I
gets
think Flores would love to get at him again.
For sure, but, I mean...
Not 4, but
when you're talking about
the Bengals were
what makes Brian Flores so successful is these young quarterbacks haven't had much experience.
That is true. He does dominate
against
young
quarterbacks
or inexperienced.
Yes, and
1,000%.
So I won't jump ahead and talk about the Steelers, but I think that obviously the work will be a little bit more challenging next week. But it's good to see this defense bounce back. And Kevin O'Connell said it. This was the byproduct of us working hard all week and wanting to bounce back and get back, in the win column and things like that. So. Total team effort, I think, but hats off to Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, this guy, phenomenal in the first half, forces 3 takeaways, scores 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. I mean, you couldn't have dreamed of a better day for Isaiah Rodgers.
No NFL player could dream of a better day than that. And the thing I didn't realize is how fast
yeah.
a human being he is. That was ridiculous. He just picked it up and picked up speed on both of his touchdowns. Like Metella said in the postgame, you heard that. He was like, we didn't have time to do a celebration because we were breathing too hard trying to stay up with the guy.
I didn't hear that. That's hilarious, though. But I think the play that maybe amazed me the most by Isaiah Rodgers, and the casual football fan won't even be thinking about it because they're just going to replay his touchdowns and forced fumbles. But the play that I love was when he was one-on-one with T. Higgins.
I know where you're going.
And he went back, he found the ball, and knocked it down. You're talking about a guy that has 4 to 5 inches on him, probably a higher vertical jump, and he went out there and did exactly what he's supposed to do. And we see cornerbacks all the time in the National Football League. They turn towards that receiver. They never look back to find the ball.
Of course.
And then they get flagged for a pass interference. So I love what I saw from Isaiah Rodgers on that. I asked people before the season, I asked Coach Flores, I said, is he a true number one? Like, is he a lockdown type guy? Because it was unknown. Like, he was a backup in Philadelphia, and Flo looked at me and said, yeah, he can be a guy. And it's like, all right, so I was believing Flores, but it was good to go out there and see him defend a high-level elite receiver like a T. Higgins and do what he did today.
Yeah, and there was his teammates in the locker room saying that play was, they were more impressed with that play than they were with his 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, me too.
You look at this defense and how they continue to force turnovers, Pierre. And apparently on Thursday, there was an emphasis on that. We saw Eric Wilson punch the ball out last week, and we saw it again today. And that's something, why don't more teams do this? I mean, you see them try, but the Vikings seem to be so effective that they go at people when they least expect it. You know, I mean, they just kind of come by. They're not even looking for the tackle. They figure, well, that guy will tackle him. I'm going for the ball.
To me, it's a sign of discipline and play how you practice until the final whistle, every single play. And it takes a lot, especially in certain games, depending on how tight they might be, to have that kind of discipline to play through a whistle till the final whistle and just keep trying to force turnovers and force the issue against other teams. Not everybody's going to have that type of stamina. I think this is something that Brian Flores has instilled in his guys that, hey, until you hear a whistle, that ball, act like it belongs to you on every single play. And that's what they're doing right now. And, you know, on a day like today, it's one of those things where if you're the Vikings coaching staff, you're going to be playing this tape on a loop. If you're the Bengals, you're throwing it in the trash the moment you get back to Cincinnati. So, this defense, once again, we shouldn't be surprised, but I continue to be amazed at how Brian Flores just continuously has this group ready to play, no matter who's playing. Did get Andrew Van Ginkel back today. That was great. 2 sacks for him on the day.
And Smith.
Yep, Harrison Smith back as well. Had the tip on Isaiah Rodgers. His interception return for a touchdown. So slowly but surely, the key pieces are coming back into the fold. We're still waiting on Blake Cashman. We'll be waiting another few weeks until he gets off IR, and then they'll be at full strength. And this is a defense everybody knows. Even though the book is out on Flores' defense and what he wants to do, it still feels at times he does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's scary for an opposing offense.
It seems like he's always a step ahead of the offensive coordinator, like the adjustments that they make at halftime. Like, even go back to the Falcons game. I mean, like, the offense was abysmal, but you're talking about a defense that just forced 5 field goals, and then they gave up a touchdown at the end of the game so they could get the ball back. So, I mean, Brian Flores has this group playing, and I've been saying it all along. Like, when he first came in here and replaced Ed Donatel, he didn't have anything defensively. Like, he played so much zone that year, it was unfamiliar for me because I'm like, Brian Flores is a man-to-man defensive coordinator. Like, he brings the heat. And I remember him telling me specifically that year, I can't use half my playbook because of the personnel we have. Then go back to last season where you got Stephon Gilmore, you got Byron Murphy Jr. back, you got all these pieces, and it's like you bring in a Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel, and it's like, oh, Jonathan Grenard, now this defense looks better. Then you bring in more pieces this year, and it's like, oh, man. So the sky's the limit for what they can do, and I think they're just touching the surface of how good this defense will really be. And I think what people didn't realize the first couple of weeks, it's hard to be a dominant defense when you're on the field all game long.
No,
they got a break today.
No doubt about it.
They got a break.
I mean, the Vikings ran, I don't know the total today, but the first 2 weeks, they were under, 40, under 50 snaps a game?
No,
I think it was under 50 snaps per game offensively.
Don't know the exact number. Yeah.
And their opponents were running 20 more plays.
Yeah. Well,
so, I mean, your defense is going to eventually wear out.
with the weapons that Cincinnati has, too, even though they're down Joe Burrow again, I still think that obviously needs to be reemphasized. But when you hold the team, any team, to under 200 yards of total offense in a game, that is really hard to do in this league. The Vikings last week were held to under 200 yards of total offense last week.
58 plays today.
There you have it.
58.
There you have it. I think
Much better number.
I think last week was more of an indication of how disconnected the offense was playing, more to the fact that Atlanta's defense was really dominating Minnesota's offense. But today was a case of where I just thought flat out Minnesota's defense dominated Cincinnati's offense. So it's hard for me to think that, like we were just saying, any coordinator is going to wake up tomorrow and think to themselves, oh, we got the Vikings defense this week. Oh, yeah, we'll be all right. It's going to be keeping you up at night.
46 and 49 plays, respectively, in games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So a lot more in this game. That's what they need.
Yeah, all right. So Kevin O'Connell already comes out and says Carson Wentz is starting
He has to say
in
that.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Why does he have to start? What if JJ is ready to go?
He's not ready to go. And he said that. He was like, I'm not putting him back out there until he's 100%. He just had a boot on last week, and he probably just got it taken off a
It
couple
was
of days ago.
precautionary, they said.
Yeah, it was precautionary, so you can avoid that swelling and things like that. But no, I think that's a problem, and I tweeted that earlier today. Like, people are in such a rush nowadays with, like, instant success. No one wants to see anybody struggle. No one wants to see anybody develop and have to grow through tough times. And I think right now it's like, hey, JJ, obviously there was a lot to start the season for you. Get that ankle back right, because we're going to be asking a lot of you when you come back. You're talking about the Eagles. You're talking about the Ravens. Like, you're talking about Super Bowl caliber teams coming to town, or you're going to their place. So you need to be 100% healthy. So, yes, Carson won. But don't get a little on your edge, on your end of your seat and be like,
asking.
oh
I'm
my
just
God,
asking.
here comes, JJ's like, I got to rush back and play. No, like, it's still your team, JJ. Like, take your time right now. They're going to give you a fair chance to
Is it
win
your
or lose
team
this
this
job.
year?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you got to see what you got. You cannot go start Carson Wentz for the remainder of the year and then head into the offseason again of, well, do we bring back Carson or do we let JJ McCarthy do this? Like, you got to figure out what you got in number 9 this season. So, take your time, get back healthy, and then, hopefully the team is clicking on all cylinders.
Pierre?
Uh-oh.
What are you looking at me for?
Because I know you'll take the bait.
Well, I think it just depends on where you are after the 2 Europe games.
So Carson's starting both Europe games, you're saying?
Probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless
He'll be a 3-game winning streak.
Well,
How can you sit him down
well,
with
yeah, that's
Philly coming in here?
I mean,
after the bye?
That's the other issue is, I mean, I agree in principle with Ahmad that you didn't sign Aaron Rodgers in the offseason and you didn't offer Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones either a competitive salary or a competitive opportunity to be the starter.
And this is what we discussed last week, and
Right.
we agreed, you and I don't know where he was on it, but we agreed that was a mistake to just give the job to a rookie right out of the gate without a competition. There's nothing wrong. Like you said, I'm paraphrasing you, and
Yeah.
you could correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But you said there's nothing wrong with having a competition.
Yes.
And say, Daniel, here's the same money that the Colts are offering you. Anthony Richardson, J.J. McCarthy, the best man win. Let's get you out there. Let's see what you could do. Because the Sam Howell decision turned out to be a
disaster.
terrible mistake
Yeah.
on their planning ahead. So the question is, why? So this is, again, we're right back in this same situation. So go ahead.
I think, excuse me, I think that,
The mic picked that up.
yeah, thank goodness for that. The reason why I felt that there needs to be competition is it feels, I might have felt a little different if it was a situation like Patrick Mahomes or a couple of other people where they sat for a year and they were healthy. Patrick Mahomes was out there practicing in his first year behind Alex Smith, practicing, looking at film, being out there with the guys. J.J. McCarthy didn't do that. I think that's important, in terms of what you need to see, in terms of what you have in a guy. He's got to be out there on the practice field. J.J. McCarthy did not do that. So that's why I felt it was more important to have competition, really, because you could see flashes of it maybe in practice, but the young man didn't practice. So you're asking me to have all the faith in the world on a young man who hasn't played a down or pro ball, who's coming off a season-ending knee injury, and you don't have a necessarily solid insurance plan in place before you sign Carson Wentz? gutsy. That's gutsy.
Well, that's one way to term it.
I mean, that's really where I was coming from from that perspective. But to your original point, if they go on and win the next couple of games and they're sitting at 4-1 going into the bye with Philadelphia coming around the corner to US Bank Stadium in Week 7, and if J.J. McCarthy has been given a clean bill of health, I agree in principle with Ahmad that J.J. McCarthy will be back out there for Week 7. Should he be, if you find yourself to be on a little bit of a roll, hey, I don't get paid enough to make that decision, my man. That's on you guys out there at US Bank Stadium and out there in Egan. So what I do know is if you're winning with a guy, especially a quarterback, if you're winning with a guy and they start to get a little faith and a little belief in him, and you send the other guy back out there and he throws an interception in the first quarter, you're going to have guys on the sideline that are going to be like, When you're winning, you're gonna have a hard time trying to get away from that. You are.
I said that last week. That was the worst case scenario for J.J. McCarthy because you just opened up Pandora's box for a lot more scrutiny, a lot more pressure, and a lot more things that you have to produce to people who you shouldn't have to prove anything to. But if Carson Wentz goes out there and goes 3-0, heading into the bye week, there's a lot of question marks surrounding J.J., and I feel like that just makes his leash a little bit shorter if Carson were to go out there and have success. Now, let's be blunt here, though. Carson hasn't been a starting quarterback in the league for a very long time. So to say that he's just going to go out there and finish his season and continue playing spectacular, come on now. So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, he set an NFL record today by playing on his sixth team in 6 seasons.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, Carson did good today. The offensive line, all right, you did okay with Jordan Mason reaching 100 yards. The defense did phenomenal, though. You didn't have any pressure-packed moments where it was third downs where you had to go convert or fourth downs where you need to pick up these 3 big yards and stuff like that. So Carson wasn't in the pressure cooker today. He had a great day of saying, my defense is doing the job. I just got to go out there and make sure I don't turn the ball over. If I don't turn the ball over, we win. Everybody's happy. Everyone's talking about how fun it is today. So I still think that, look, there's a lot of storylines that will be developed around this team in the coming weeks.
I agree with Ahmad. The one thing I'm sorry to sound like a broken record. I just want to touch on it one more time. I still would have loved to know what the conversation was like with Daniel Jones, because if you told Daniel Jones that, yeah, we'd love to have you back here, but we are going with JJ. We are trying to get JJ prepped to be our starter, not only for this year but long term. The situation, he might have taken a bird's eye view and looked at the situation in Indianapolis and thought to himself, maybe this is a situation where a franchise is starting to lose a little bit of faith in Anthony Richardson, even though he was drafted number 4 overall. But there was no guarantee that the Indianapolis franchise, was going to give Daniel Jones the starting. They came out and said this is a quarterback competition.
Right, and I'm sure that's why he signed there. Well, it wasn't so much. The money wasn't really out of this world. $16 million, I think it was.
And that's kind of what brings me to the question of, if it's a competition out in Indianapolis, why is it not a competition in Minnesota?
I'll give you that answer.
Why?
I'll answer that the best I can. Because Kwesi needs his draft picks to play, and they need to play well. Because if you go back to Kwesi's draft picks from when he first got here, there's no one on the team from that first class except for Ty Chandler.
Except for Jordan Addison.
Yeah, Ty Chandler in the first one, then Jordan Addison that second year, and then J.J. McCarthy, Dallas Turner. Love both of those guys, but they've yet to play at a high level to be first-round draft picks. So if you're wondering why Daniel Jones was shipped out of here with very little, you're not going to be able to have a chance to compete for QB1, because we just drafted J.J. McCarthy, and we need him to play well. I think that's a Kwesi decision, honestly. Just my gut opinion. I don't have any sources on that tied to the situation. I just think Kwesi wants his draft picks to play well in Dallas Turner and McCarthy.
If that were to be the case, and that we're saying if, I don't love that mentality one bit. Because I've already seen Kwesi cut bait on some former first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks. It's almost like if you're going to fail fast, and I applaud you for that at least. But if there's no quarterback competition because you took this young man 10th overall, look at the way Daniel Jones is playing right now.
3-0 with the Indianapolis Colts.
If that is the reasoning, Oh, man, you don't want to see me walking into that press conference room. I got a huge problem with you. Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever come out and tell us that.
No, of
that's
course
a good,
not.
That's
Of
a good
course
thing
not.
about it.
No,
yeah,
no, of course not.
It's water under the bridge for them now. I think they're sticking with JJ, but you got to answer to a lot of fans. You know, when JJ gets back out there, and that's why I said the worst case scenario for him was Carson Wentz going out there and playing well and winning football games. Because now you went into the season like, all right, people expect me to do well, but it's my first season. I can grow. I can learn. So now, well, he just won possibly 3 straight games. We're looking good in the NFC North, and I got to continue this high level of play. If I don't, we're problematic. And I heard Kevin O'Connell on ESPN before the game, and he said something that kind of caught my attention. He said, I don't think we've built this offense around Justin Jefferson the last 3 years, and I don't think we've tapped into what we can do offensively the first couple of weeks. First answer is why? Okay, maybe Christian Darrisaw, the problems up front. Second question is, though, why haven't you done it consistently? Like, you know, I know the offensive line is a problem, but that's been a problem since you got here in Minnesota, and you found a way around it. So it's like, what is it about the first couple of weeks that you weren't able to get into your offense? And we can say J.J. McCarthy's first couple of games. All right, cool, but will you be able to get back into it when J.J. gets out there? I think that's the big question right now.
And will Justin Jefferson, if he continues to have success with Carson Wentz, he has been the greatest teammate, soldier of this Vikings team. He has never, ever disagreed publicly with anybody about any decisions or which quarterback he has to work with. He has been, hey, I'll make it work. Don't worry about me.
Yep.
But if he gets on a roll with Carson Wentz and then all of a sudden they circle back, you know, he does have his contract, so he is paid, but he wants numbers.
Yeah.
He wants stats. He wants to remain the best wide receiver in the National Football League.
Yeah, he still has incentives to get.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if he gets into a situation where he's got to go back a step offensively with his quarterback, I don't know if he stays quiet this time. Maybe that's the time that he finally does say something. Or more likely his style, he'll go to O'Connell or Kwesi and say, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah, he'll never question it to us.
Publicly,
yeah,
no.
but he'll go to.
He's too classy.
But
of
I
a
don't
guy.
even know if he's that guy that will go to them and be like, look, you need to change the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't seen that from him. I haven't heard anything that would suggest he would do that. Now, I'm not ruling it out. But, you know, I think this is a guy that he trusts his coaches and his coaching staff. And I think they see something in J.J. McCarthy that we obviously haven't seen. And, you know, so they're big believers in him. So it's just like, all right, let's let him get a game with Christian Darrisaw and Ryan Kelly and all his guys up front. Let's get him a full game like that where you have TJ Hockenson at your disposal, because I went back and I watched the first couple of games. The amount of times that TJ Hockenson was tied to the left tackle or the right tackle and having to chip instead of being spread out and utilizing this full offense. And then you haven't had Jordan Addison. So let JJ get all his weapons, let him get his offensive line, and let him play 3 to 4 games. And then we can make a decision on if he's the future or not.
All right. So as we wrap this up, where is this team at? We had Euphoria week 1. We had Looking for the Nearest Bridge week 2. What do we have this week?
Optimistic.
I think, I think Ahmad hit it on the head. I think it's a little more optimistic than not. But I think there's probably a segment of the fan base. I've been here long enough to know how these fans think about this team and how they react when they see this team. I think as we approach the Halloween season, they're waiting to see if Carson Wentz turns into a pumpkin as well. They'll think to themselves, well, we got by 1 week. Hopefully we'll get by in the next weeks to come. And one thing we didn't touch on is in terms of the quarterback situation, if somebody does well, how does that impact the other? We didn't really touch on the running back situation. Jordan Mason was terrific today. Aaron Jones still has a role in this offense, but if Jordan Mason continues the level of production that we saw today, how much more of a role does Aaron Jones really have in this
he becomes
offense?
the
passing down back.
Yeah, well, and he becomes the complementary back. And I think that was the reason they brought Mason in, because they saw, even though he played every game last year, he's had a history of getting nicked up throughout his career. And he's also getting older. But he is still so vital to the offense. So I'm not surprised by this at Jordan Mason at all. This is what I expected out of Mason when he came here.
Right, and I'm
not 100 yards every game, but getting you those huge runs through traffic, knocking people out of the way, things that Aaron Jones doesn't really excel at, running into people head on.
And I'm not ruling him out of this offense, entirely by any means. And, of course, I'm sure Aaron Jones would have loved to see Christian Darrisaw on a full, healthy offensive line in front of him, too. Says, hey, I can do that, too.
And he doesn't want you ruling him out of the offense
I know. I'm not saying. But again, it's if you see this type of production week in and week out from Jordan Mason, how do you take him off the field? How?
Yeah,
You just
go to two backs because you could use him as an option for the passing game, correct?
Yeah, you can. But if you got two backs on the field,
set?
then that means you're taking off Jalen Naylor or Adam Thielen probably when Jordan Addison comes back. And I want those guys on the field.
I'd rather have Aaron Jones on the field than Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that argument. I think Aaron Jones is a Swiss Army knife when you talk about his capabilities.
That's why he gives you more options.
He's not a bruiser, like you alluded to, but he's that guy who can hit the hole, but he can also stretch that defense. And I asked C.J. Ham about him last year, and I said, where was that moment where you looked at Aaron Jones and you were like, this is a dude? He said it was training camp. We called a go ball for him, a fade. And he just mossed the defender. And he was like, oh, my God. He's like, I've never seen a running back go up and go get the football like that. So I think he brings a dimension to this offense that they absolutely need. We saw it in the Chicago game, him running a choice route, running right by the linebacker. You probably don't get that from Jordan Mason. I'm not ruling that out of his game. But Aaron Jones, his speed, his releases, I think he's an X factor, like you said, when he's on the field. So
two different strengths.
Exactly.
Two different strengths.
I think, and that's why Kevin O'Connell said at the beginning of the season,
right,
you can't say Aaron Jones without Jordan Mason. And he said they are going to complement each other all season long. And I think we saw a 100-yard rusher today because they gave him the ball so many times because they were up and did things like that.
The game dictated it to be that way.
But he's absolutely a guy that needs more touches, especially in the red zone. And I think that's what he's here for. But I don't think they had a ton of opportunities to showcase that in weeks 1 through 2 compared to week 3.
No, they decided to pitch it to someone instead and fumble the snap. Where are you at now? He's optimistic. Where are you?
Same.
What's your word?
Optimism.
Oh, you got to come out with a different word.
I gave him that word. I said optimistic.
You stole it. That's even better. That's even better.
He's optimistic. I'm. How about this? I'm pessimistic. How about that? He could be optimistic. I'm pessimistic.
What?
No. I'm just kidding.
It's his turn to talk. Why are you talking?
No, you go ahead.
No. I'm only because I did. I stole it from him, and Ahmad is optimistic. He's. It's fine.
It's early.
It's fine.
14 weeks left.
Great win. It's fine. I'm not gonna freak out about a 48-10 win. Great performance. You get your kudos for me, but there's bigger fish to fry here.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Like Pierre said, it's 14 weeks left in the season. So it's like I'm not going to get too high and be like, oh, my God, this team and what they're capable of, because any week, anything can happen in the National Football League. So optimism is high right now, but there's still a lot of unknowns. And I just think right now people have to be patient. I think you have to be patient when trying to judge and critique this Vikings team because technically we still haven't seen the true Vikings offense, with J.J. McCarthy and all his weapons. So I think we just need to be patient, let the weeks play out, and then we'll come back, say, week 8 or 9. And then we can kind of reassess the situation and be like, all right,
we need to know now.
No.
We don't want to wait 2 months.
That's the problem with our society
what do you
now.
think, though, Jimmy?
People want success right away.
I want to know where can we find this?
No,
somebody
come
just
on.
No. You don't get to ask us a question and not give us your input.
That's my job.
Come on, you're a homer. You're a Minnesota guy.
I am the question.
You're not the moderator.
I'm the question maker. Oh, look we're out of time. That's unbelievable. Oh, look at that.
Guy.
We've got Fox 9 News at 9 coming for you. We got Vikings postgame tonight with Peter Bursich. Ahmad Hicks has got the links. They are smoking hot. And, so the time just flew by.
Where are your guts?
All right, gentlemen.
We'll ask him in the next couple of weeks,
We'll
guys.
see you next week after the Vikings win in London with Carson Wentz
already
at
predicting
quarterback.
a win. Wow.
And in London and in Dublin.
Wow, you're predicting
They're going to go
2
through
wins?
that, yes. That Wentz will win all 3 of those, and then we'll see where we go.
Hopefully I get to come back. I'll be traveling to Phoenix on Friday, but hopefully the Lynx can sweep the Mercury and I can get back here on Saturday and join this podcast with you guys on Sunday.
I'm just hoping that Jim doesn't have to eat crow here in his bold prediction. A 4-1 start for the Minnesota Vikings.
It's not crow.
Jim Rich.
They eat chips over there, not crows. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for joining us.
In the UK.
We will see you soon. Yeah, why are you telling they eat crows over there? Unbelievable. What kind of country do you think that is?
It's a delicacy.